All right, here we go. You guys all ready? All right. Call to order. Pledge. Please stand for the pledge.
Please prepare yourselves in the appropriate manner for the Pledge of Allegiance. Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you like to remain standing? Our invocation by Pastor Leanne Clark.
Thank you, Council. Let us pray. Father, we thank you for this opportunity to be here tonight with our City Council and the citizens for the City of 29 Palms. We ask that your hand be upon this meeting to guide us in making the best decisions between the citizens and our council for the best interest for our community. Father, we thank you and we ask that you bless our businesses, bless our City Council, our City Manager staff, the PAC, the Park and Recreation Department, the Planning Commission as well. And Father, we ask for your blessing upon all of the schools as they are winding down, and the class of 2024 will be graduating and moving on to their next endeavors. So Father, we ask for your blessing upon them, upon all of our students, all their families that will be traveling here in order to celebrate all of the accomplishments that they have done in their 12 years of school. And we thank you for that. Father, we also ask that you lift up bless our military base. We especially thank you for celebrating yesterday's memorial ceremony in honoring the fallen soldiers. We lift up their families to you as it's a time of sadness, but we thank you because for them, they provided us with the freedom and the sacrifice of their life so we can be here tonight to conduct business, to have a free press, and to have the opportunity for the freedom of speech. And Father, we also lift up the family of Gunnery Sergeant Robert James McDonald. And we also lift up the family of Rudy Garcia and the incident that took place last week here in our community. Father, we lift up their families. We lift up so much because so much happened in just that moment. So Father, we thank you that your hand is upon our servicemen and women, all who knew Gunnery Sergeant McDonald and the lives that he touched as well. So Father, we again thank you for this opportunity of being here. We ask that you bless our new youth council that will be installed tonight. We thank you for the growth in our community, for these ideas, and for their enthusiasm and excitement to be a part of our city council and be a part of our city. And again, Father, we thank you as we begin this meeting with peace and respect. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Thank you. Roll call.
Councilmember Wright,
Here.
Councilmember Scott,
Here.
Councilmember Mintz,
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Klink,
Here.
Mayor Buildering.
Here.
All present.
Closed session announcements, there are none. Change to agenda, removing 12. We need more information, some changes, so that will be removed from the agenda. Announcements. These proceedings may be viewed on demand on the City of 29 Palms website at www.29palms.org. May also live stream this meeting by going onto our website and clicking on the meeting agendas link. Awards, presentations, appointments, and proclamations. Presentation of the 29 Palms High School baseball team.
We have a representative from TPHS Baseball.
I know they're back there. Come on in, Gus. I know you hear me.
All right. First of all, thank you very much for taking your time out of your your long schedule, and cleaning up and making 29 Palms a more beautiful city. And we need to know, where you cleaned up and about how many bags you cleaned up.
Thank you, sir. And we cleaned up on the side lot over by the Palladium, and we cleaned up about 25 to 30 full bags of trash along with miscellaneous metal pieces that were out there for a while.
That's awesome. Thank you very much. Appreciate you guys. We have a check from the city of 29 Palms, and we have a check from Burtech for your hard work at doing that. And they, I believe, will want a picture somewhere. Right here? Good? Oh, right in front here. Smile, guys. All right, thank you, guys.
The next presentation is to Tasha.
TASHA, which is Teens Against Sexual
Harassment and assault.
and assault. Very good. We thank you also for taking your time out of your schedule to help make 29 Palms a beautiful city. And can you tell us where you cleaned up and about how many bags you picked up?
We cleaned up across the Dollar General, like just right there, and then we cleaned about 18 bags, sir.
All right, very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I have a check here also from City of 29 Palms and one from Burtech.
Wants to hold it.
And then we'll all get right up here. Pictures.
Can you scoot down, please?
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Next will be the swearing in of members of the Youth Council.
Yeah, just make a line straight across. Maybe 2 rows? Okay. We're all here? Okay. Hello, council and meeting attendees. My name is Amy Tessier. I'm the Recreation Program Supervisor. It is my great pleasure to present our inaugural cohort of the 29 Palms Youth Council. The Youth Council was created to promote civic engagement among young people by giving them the opportunity to develop leadership skills and learn how local government operates. Increasing the communication between our city's youth and adults is integral to ensuring the youth voice is heard. The 13 applications we received reflect ambitious youth between grades 6 through 12 who have diverse interests, experiences, and passions. Their desire to amplify the youth voice and improve communication between youth and adults to create lasting change in our community is not only admirable, but exactly what is needed in 29 Palms. City Council members reviewed and approved all 13 applications that were received. I am honored to guide these motivated youth in their role as Youth Council members. Over the next year, we will meet on the first and third Tuesday of each month. They will create their own Youth Council bylaws and develop an action plan for the activities they will create and lead this year. Given the passion that was reflected in their applications, I am excited to observe and support them in their efforts. I will now turn the floor over to Cindy, our city clerk, to swear in our new youth council members. Thank you.
Back up a little bit more. Okay. So what we're going to do is I'm going to say I, and then you'll state your name first and last, and then repeat everything else after me. Okay? So I, raise your hand. State your name.
Thomas Elkins.
Okay. Do solemnly affirm that I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that I will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California, that I take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that I will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which I am about to enter. Congratulations. She will have your oaths of office, okay? These are all of them. Yeah, these are copies. Okay. And I'm gonna make sure there's one. Sorry. Okay. All right, thank you. She's gonna pass them out.
All right.
Your first task is to stay for the whole meeting. Ms. Coleman, could you get a group picture? Thank you. Thank you, parents. All right. Number 3, presentation, 29 Palms High School for their partnership in the International Festival.
Alrighty. Good evening, council members. I am very excited to present this gift to 29 Palms High School for their partnership in our first ever international festival. Being a graduate of TPHS, the best day of the year was iFest, or International Festival. Getting to experience all the different cultures represented on campus was the most eye-opening thing. It allowed us all the opportunity to really understand each other's cultural backgrounds, some more, whether it be through the variety of food or performances. When I came into my current role with the City of 29 Palms as the Community Events Coordinator, I inherited a whole list of events, one of which was our Fiesta 29 that celebrated Cinco de Mayo. We had a mariachi band and folklorico dancers entertain the attendees in downtown for 2 years. It was a successful event that people enjoyed. In an effort to expand and appreciate the melting pot of cultures 29 Palms is home to, I approached our Recreation Division Manager, Carrie Minitry, aka the best boss ever, about hosting an international festival and possibly partnering with TPHS to bring their performances out to Freedom Plaza and have them represent not only their school, but their cultures as well. I was, and still am, so thankful Principal Michael Ruggiero, Miss Lisa Solis, Mrs. Melissa McGivern, and Mr. Charles Poono Jr. Were fully supportive of partnering with us to host our first ever international festival. Carrie and I attended this year's iFest at the high school back in February and were blown away by the talent of the students. Plus, we learned this year marked the 25th year of iFest, so this was definitely the perfect year to have this. We had 5 performances from the high school, including Tininkling, the Vietnamese hat dance, hula, a Tahitian dance, and Samoan dance, plus DJ Alex Romo playing hit songs of past and present from all over the world. Our main goal of this event and partnership was for the community to come together and learn more about their neighbors. Twentynine Palms is like no other place, and we believe this year's International Festival showed just that. I am honored to present each of the clubs represented at the International Festival with a donation so that they may continue their efforts in representing their cultures, both on campus and beyond. We also have one more gift for the high school that I would like to have Public Arts Advisory Committee Workshop 29 mentee Brianna Danduran explain a little more about.
Hi, my name's Brianna Danduran. I brought a 4x4 blue wood thing to iFest, and I had the community. It involved some high school alumni who just really remembered iFest, a lot of the high schoolers. I think I had a couple teachers paint the background of this awesome painting, and then what I did was I took what they did and I painted on the foreground and I let them leave their mark on the high school. Yeah, it's just a super cool community thing to get them together, and so they get this really cool piece of art. Yeah.
While you're taking pictures, can I ask the gentleman that's wearing that white and green shirt, where did you get that? Yeah, you. Whoa. That is really nice.
I wonder
Very
I can't
nice.
get one.
Yeah, that's true. Can we order that from somewhere that can hand sew some shirts like that for us? No, that's all right. Give all your information to Cindy whenever you have a chance. Okay? Cindy right here? Or do you have a card or anything? No?
That's what everyone needs.
Yeah, thank you. Give me one of them.
All right. Council comments, reports, and meetings attended. Councilmember Scott.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended the vigil march for Gunnery Sergeant McDonald, and it was organized by Shaka Gray, who happens to be in the audience today. And I just want to say thank you for organizing the community to pay respect to a fallen Marine. I also attended Memorial Day events at the cemetery as well as at Freedom Plaza.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I attended the mayor's prayer breakfast we just had, and then I also did a Basin Transit meeting and a tag grant meeting with Basin Transit prior to the meeting. And then also the Memorial Day ceremony yesterday in Freedom Plaza. And I got a chance to take a picture with the mayor.
Councilmember Mintz.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Went up to the city-county conference. It was a day-and-a-half event. It was good. networking. Got to talk to the sheriff a little bit, 2 of our county supervisors, and a few of our other council members from other cities, and we learned a few things at the conference. Went to the high school scholarship night, and then I also attended our Basin Transit meeting. And then I want to remind everybody, don't forget about MDAQ District's website. If you have a lawnmower, gas-powered lawnmower, hedge cutter, or a weed whacker, go to the website and see how you can get a battery-operated one. Also, I attended the memorial ceremony at Freedom Plaza, and I want to thank the Navy Captain Clark for being there in his presentation, also Elizabeth Marshall, and I thought our mayor did a great job, a very emotional moment for him. So it was a very good ceremony put on by our Park and Rec, and you can see some of the wreaths that were out here. I want to thank all the folks that, all the organizations that also made those wreaths for that ceremony. It was great. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mayor. I also went to the city-county conference, same thing with Danny. A lot of networking with other cities and our supervisors and the sheriff. I went to the memorial service. Let me thank the Park and Rec District and 29 Palms Cemetery District for putting on a very, very somber kind of gathering, but yet celebrating in the same sentence, because we celebrate the lives of those ones that didn't make it home. And then I'd like to thank all the ones that gave the wreaths. A lot of the businesses gave wreaths. Want to thank them for doing that. It was and it was really well attended. And then I also went up to the wreath placing at the cemetery, and I got a picture with the mayor at that one. So yeah, Octavius and I did. So. And that's it.
All right, thank you. Before I start, congratulations to the new youth council. I look forward to everything you're about to do for our community. Mayor's prayer breakfast, I attended that. That was fitting for the way the week will start, so we needed prayer. I did the vigil march with Shaka and his group. Thank you once again. And for Gunnery Sergeant McDonald, hung the wreath at the cemetery. We put the flags on all the customers that are there. That's what we call them. Memorial Day ceremony yesterday. So I did it. It was hard because normally celebrations or ceremonies like that, I get to sit in the stands and reflect. So it was hard to be up there and talk out loud. So it was hard not to choke up, but we got through it, and I got to take a picture with the council members. So that was always benefits, right? So, and I want to thank the staff and the cemetery district. Scott, once again, Carrie, you guys always, I know Scott, but you're the best boss ever apparently, so you get all the credit, all right? No, but outstanding job. I'm not surprised, so keep doing what you're doing. Thank you. And we're moving on to consent calendar. All matters listed under the consent calendar are to be considered routine by the city council and will be enacted by one motion in the form listed. Any items may be removed from the consent calendar and considered separately by the city council. The public will be given an opportunity to comment on the consent calendar items prior to the city council's actions. Council, anything? No. Public, anything? We have one. Public request to pull number 11. So, motion up here to approve the rest of the calendar.
I'll move the rest.
Second.
12 just removed for another time. Yeah.
Okay. Councilmember Scott?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Mintz?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klink?
Aye.
Mayor Bilderrain?
Aye.
Approved 5-0.
Item number 11. We can pull for conversation, right? Yeah. You first. Either
All right, sorry, I have several items on the agenda this evening, so I need to get myself organized. So what you have in front of you this evening is the fee waiver policy that was approved at the meeting held on Tuesday, May 24th. The City Council had an opportunity to review the second draft of the fee waiver policy. Staff presented the recommendations and updates, which the City Council subsequently approved. And additionally, the City Council agreed to grant all eligible organizations 3 complimentary facility rentals per calendar year. So the attachment is provided. There you go, in the staff report. So these are all of the changes that were discussed and agreed upon at the last City Council meeting. This is just a clean policy without all the edits.
Council, any questions? No? Yes, you.
I have one change in particular, and Madam Manager, what was suggested language? Okay, I approached the bench. Sorry. I've never done a consent calendar item before. Hi. I really apologize. I wasn't able to speak at the last meeting. I think the fee waiver policy is a great draft. However, I fear that some of the language is a bit vague, and it will result in virtually any organization or business any organization or business will be able to qualify with a fee for a fee waiver because the language is a little vague. However, I can't use my 3 minutes on that particular point tonight, but I have sent you some suggested revisions to the mayor and to the mayor pro tem and the city manager, as well as Carrie and Scott. And I'm happy to go over those with you if you want, but my 3 minutes have to be spent on one provision in particular. I'm speaking on behalf of Desert Trumpet, which is a 501c3 nonprofit organization, and I'm speaking on Section F, ineligible fee waivers, as this affects the Desert Trumpet City Council Candidate Forum on September 14th. It currently reads, fee waivers will not be issued for events that are political in nature or by individuals seeking political office or elected officials for the purpose of an election campaign. This language needs defining. Who is going to determine whether an event is political? If the intent is to prevent the free rental of city facilities by political candidates, then how about this alternative? Fee waivers will not be issued for events that are political in nature, such as rentals by individuals seeking public office, elected officials for the purpose of an election campaign, or organizations advocating for or against a ballot measure. And maybe it's a good idea to also add, this does not include rentals by nonpartisan 501c3 charitable organizations holding free community forums for the purpose of public information, which is what we have planned for September. 501c3 nonprofits are 501c3 nonprofits are nonpartisan by federal law, and community candidate forums are celebrations of our democratic election process. In a nonpartisan candidate forum, all candidates are invited, they all read a short statement, and then the forum opens up for questions from residents. City facilities are pretty much the only venues in town, so charging a nonprofit charity $500 to $600 for the community center makes it tough to hold a free community forum. Candidate forums are hard to organize, so why not give nonprofits a break by offering a fee waiver? Let's give residents an opportunity to hear from the candidates, which didn't happen in 2022, by the way, because the commercial organization that was sponsoring it canceled the public forum. So let's support open discussion and democracy in 29 Palms. Thank you so much.
Back up here.
30 minutes, you got a paperwork in by now.
Good evening. I'll try to make it brief. I actually missed a couple of weeks ago as well, but I did send in a letter regarding this particular topic, and then had an opportunity to watch through YouTube like what had happened in the session. And something struck with me that Octavius had said regarding, hey, we'll have an opportunity to review the 3-day comp situation next year. But it came on the tails of him saying that we'd already set a precedence. So if we're giving away 3 days now, we are certainly setting a precedence for next year to try to unravel this. I totally appreciate comping days to nonprofits. but this is like one day, 100% increase would have been 2 days, and we're gonna like jump checkers and go all the way to 3 days of comp. I think it's too much. I think that your obligation is a fiscal responsibility for the city, and there's a lot of costs associated with these facilities, and it takes a lot of time from Parks and Rec as well. So I urge you to reconsider. 1 day was fine. That would be my recommendation if I were sitting up there. Thank you.
Thank you. Back up here.
Thank you very much for that input. I don't have a problem with the new language here, unless, I mean, Mr. City Attorney, do you think it passes the sniff test? Oh.
Well, after the review that, I actually, we talked about this whole process at length last meeting. Staff put a lot of work into this. I'm comfortable with the way everything's read right now.
Me too.
I'm also comfortable with the way it is written as right now.
Well, I guess it is what it is then.
If Patrick wants to weigh in, you'd ask him.
Yeah, I'm waiting for.
It's a policy issue, but I'd have some concern about the proposed language because somebody that tells you they're nonpartisan holds an event and then they turn out to be partisan, and now all of a sudden the city's left holding the bag and with all the liability.
Thank you.
So I'll make a motion that we pass number 11 as read.
Second.
Councilmember Mintz?
Aye.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Scott?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klink?
Aye.
Mayor Bildering?
Aye.
Approved 5-0.
Public hearing. 14, proposed budget revisions of the general fund for fiscal year 2024-25.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Tonight in front of you is are the proposed general fund budget revisions for fiscal year 24-25. As I mentioned in our last meeting, tonight I'm recommending approval of this budget revision along with other items which I'll be discussing at the end of the presentation. A public hearing will be scheduled on June 11 for the adoption of the special funds budgets for fiscal year 24-25. Next slide, please. No major changes were done to the preliminary budget that I presented 2 weeks ago. We still have a fund balance of approximately $117,000. Next slide, please. And other than the budget revisions that I presented 2 weeks ago, I didn't adjust anything else on our top 6 revenues, or actually any of our revenues for that matter. Okay, so this is just a visual presentation of what our revenue looks like, and our top 6 revenues comprise 84% of the total city's revenues, excluding reserves and transfers. Next slide, please. Again, as a reminder, there's no major changes to the preliminary budget, and just the major changes from the originally adopted budget is in our non-departmental, and that's basically because we are requesting a transfer of $250,000 for the animal control shelter project in the non-departmental line. And then also on the community development line, we are carrying over some of the unspent funds that were budgeted in fiscal year 24-25, which are most likely not going to be able to, or we're not going to proceed with the projects until this upcoming fiscal year, and that's for the housing and homeless program. For Public Works Administration, the major change there is mainly because we are absorbing more of the Public Works salaries and benefits due to the stagnant growth and gas tax revenue and the elimination of Article 8 funding. Next slide. So for this are the expenditures by type. As you can see, our total expenditures for this fiscal year 24-25 are projected at $14.1 million, including $523,000 in transfers. And the top two expenditures are law enforcement services and salaries and benefits, which make up about 70% of the city's total operating expenditures. Next slide. As far as our law enforcement service contract, which does not include any other expenses such as the maintenance of the vehicles and other miscellaneous purchases, just the contract alone is for fiscal year 24-25 is going to see an increase of about 3%. Next slide. I'm recommending a 4.3% COLA increase on all wages, which is basically which is based on the 12-month percentage change from March of each year using the Riverside San Bernardino Consumer Index. Next slide, please. And here we have our reserves. The good news is that we do have a good ratio. 82%. We are projecting about 82% of our reserves compared to our operating expenditures. Our policy currently is 50 to 55%. So again, we're in line within that policy. Next slide, please. I would like to focus our attention tonight on this chart, and I don't know if you can make it a little bit bigger, Cindy, but I just wanted to show you what our, revenues versus our expenditures. So for fiscal year 21-22, we saw an increase in our revenues, and that was mainly, everybody was, all of those restrictions for staying at home orders were lifted, and so you saw an increase in VHR rentals. Also, our sales tax were higher. Now, as we look at 23-24, we're only seeing less than 1% of an increase. And for 24-25, we're projecting an increase of about 1.2%. Now, if we just look at the top two expenditures for those same fiscal years, in 23-24, we saw an increase of 16.4%. That was mainly because we added a detective, and the COLA for the sheriffs was about 8 to 9% increase. So, I mean, that's the revenue growth and the expenditures growth do not align. I mean, there's a huge discrepancy there. Now, for 24-25, we're looking at about 3.7% increase. Again, that's just the two top revenues that the city has. So, as a city, we should not only be concerned with our short-term existence, but also long-term. What can we do to maybe not make it the same, but something close, as we get closer into the strategic planning, I would invite you to, take these factors into account when you're thinking about, what projects you want to fund for next year. What is it that you want to do for the upcoming 2 fiscal years? Next slide, please. So one thing that was not added into this budget was the implementation for the Advanced Clear Fleets regulation. So as I mentioned in our last meeting, basically what the state is requiring cities is that by 2027, by January 1st, 2027, all purchases of vehicles weighing over 8,500 pounds must be zero emissions. So this is obviously going to have an impact not only when we go and acquire these vehicles, but also operating. Where are we going to be charging those vehicles? How much is that going to increase our electricity? Next slide. So here we have some of the top changes for this upcoming fiscal year. We are adding the 4.3% COLA that I just mentioned, as well as the that same rate for the city fees. Again, we're absorbing more and more of salaries and benefits from our public works department because gas tax is stagnant, and then we lost the Article 8 funding, so we have to absorb that funding. Our general liability and property insurance is expected to increase between 12 and 20% in fiscal year 24-25. So again, some of those changes were, we have to take into account. For a community center at Freedom Plaza, the projected expenditures just for that building alone is about $214,000. We're only projecting between $1,500 to $2,000 in rental fees. So again, huge discrepancy there. Next slide, please. So here are the recommendations for tonight. The first one, the approval of the budget revisions that are presented. Employees COLA living adjustment of 4.3%, the wage scale which has been attached to the staff report. Interfund transfers, the number in that is incorrect. It's actually $455,000 in transfers from the general fund to the capital projects fund. It's mainly the $250,000 for the animal control shelter project, $160,000 for self-funding of that fund, $10,000 for the new code enforcement vehicle. In 2022, council approved $40,000 for this vehicle. However, with inflation and rising prices, we're going to need an additional $10,000 for that vehicle, and then $35,000 to set aside for the acquisition of a new street sweeper. Next slide, please. And I'm here to answer any questions.
Council? Questions? No. Public? No. Back up here? That was green slips. No one asked, no. Back up here?
Well, it sounds like our next strategic planning will be very interesting because we'll have to figure out maybe a new funding source, because I kind of saw this coming a few years back, that it was starting to shrink.
Yeah, again, our reserves are good. 82%, it's a good ratio. However, reserves are supposed to be used for one-time projects, improvements.
Yes.
But our reserves, the factor into the calculation of that reserve is operating expenditures. So as your operating expenditures go up, your reserves your reserve ratio is going to go down. So again, it's not, in the future, it's not that we're spending or we're using our reserves, is our operating expenditures are going up. And so all of that, again, needs to be taken into account.
I appreciate you giving it to us straight.
Thank you, and quick.
Thank you.
So again, the recommendations are, if you can go back to the next slide, I do want you to call out those transfers for my auditors, please. So I just list them for you.
What's the resolution number? Okay, I make a motion that we accept resolution 2407, approving the adopted general fund budget revisions. Trying to get, she said, make sure you get it in there. Budget revisions, annual spending plan, the employee cost of living adjustment COLA of 4.3%, wage schedule of FY 24-25, and then the FY 24-25 interfund transfers of $455,000 for capital projects, $250,000 for the new animal shelter project, $160,000 for self-funding of the fund, $10,000 for annual funding needed for to acquire the code enforcement vehicle.
And $35,000 for street sweeper. Fortunately, I didn't get that on
that. It
that.
wasn't on here.
Yes, I'm sorry.
I'm just
but
kidding.
I did put it in my PowerPoint.
Yes, $35,000
for
the
street
sweeper.
Thank you.
Second. Councilmember Mintz, it's 2410. I apologize. Resolution 2410.
So the resolution is 2410. Okay.
And
I'm not going to say all that again.
that works.
Second.
Okay. Councilmember Scott?
Aye.
Councilmember Rintz,
Aye.
Councilmember Wright,
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klink,
Aye.
Mayor Bildery.
Aye.
Approved 5-0.
Discussion and potential action items. Number 15, community events grants.
Alrighty, hello again. Before you is the information to fund the Dine 29 Food Festival and Restaurant Week through the Community Events Grant. The ad hoc committee comprised of council members Mintz and Scott reviewed applications for the Community Events Grant. The recommendation is for this upcoming event proposed to take place in September 2024. Before the city issues any resources, the authorized event must have the proper permitting, licensing, and any and all other requirements. The city council could choose to deny or give other recommendations. Within the adopted budget, $50,000 is available for community events grants. Of the $50,000, $9,500 is available for allocation. Should this event be funded, $8,000 will be available for allocation to other events. There was a typo in it says $20,000 in total, but it's $1,500. Additionally, it has been brought to my attention that additional information was provided this afternoon for the council in regard to this agenda item. This information was not in the agenda packet. However, please note this information was not received prior to the agenda being published. So if you have any questions, Mr. Terrence Latimer is here to answer any that you may have.
Council questions?
No, it looks like, oh, sorry. It looks like he went out and did what, at the last meeting, you required him to go out and get other folks to and contact them. Looks like he's contacted them, so I see why we can't fund this.
No, I absolutely agree. Considering that he's got a lot more partners with this particular project, I think that we should consider actually funding him for more than the original 1,500. He's got a lot of partners here.
I guess you can comment. I don't know what getting more. Is that going to increase his costs?
Yeah, he's going to have to do advertising for more businesses. There's a cost to advertise.
Okay. Well, he's here. I'd like to hear from him.
You guys done up here?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Over to the public.
Hello, council members, and good evening, everyone. My name is Terrence Latimer. I am the owner-operator of Black Cactus Co-working. Last year, Black Cactus applied for an events grant to facilitate the production of a dining program known as Dine 29, or 29 Dines. Originally conceived as a way to highlight the best and brightest culinary artists in 29 Palms, I continue to advocate for our local food service providers. By supporting this program, you're supporting local restaurants. Recently, I've read that the restaurant industry and food service providers are struggling under the weight of supply chain issues, a challenged workforce, and razor-thin margins. And this program, it aims to alleviate some of that pressures associated with marketing and customer acquisition. It is designed to foster a sense of community and camaraderie within the restaurant and hospitality sectors, which are vital to 29 Palms. While the program isn't exclusively focused on catering to tourists, a recent research paper found that tourists spend as much as 25% of their travel budgets on food. I think encouraging dining out for both locals and tourists is a unique opportunity to develop civic pride and better collaboration while supporting an ecosystem that's super important to our home. As I approach my 5th year in the desert, I offer my space, my talents, my leadership, and my expertise, or our expertise, to help steer the 29 Dines program. So far, we've received 14 statements of support, which you all have in front of you, or should have in front of you, a verbal commitment, and truly, we are really open to any restaurant that decides that they want to participate at a later time. Ideally, this pilot program can become self-sufficient with an initial investment from the city. And while the $1,500 is originally approved by the city is greatly appreciated, we would greatly value your help in getting closer to our initial fundraising goal of $15,000. This would allow us to invest directly in the community by hiring photographers, videographers, professionals. We can put that money into local advertising, for example, in order to help raise awareness about the program. This investment not only allows Black Cactus to build our capacity on behalf of these restaurants, but it also helps to offset some of those marketing costs associated with promoting independent businesses. We plan to move ahead with the program regardless of today's outcome. I had a really great call with Tortoise Rock Casino this past Friday and excited about their potential participation. Ivan over here of the Hangry Bear is one of our partners that we're going to be focused on developing the in-person event aspect of the restaurant week. But you know, I just know that with the city council support, that's going to add additional credibility for us, right, and lead to greater success. My hope is that the city council's support in launching this initiative signals to all current and future restaurant owners in 29 Palms that our city provides the opportunity for those with a passion for food to thrive and scale those successful restaurants. Thank you so much for your time and consideration.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public? Nope.
Angry Bear.
Good evening. I'm partnering with Terrence with Dying 29. And what we decided to do is collaborate. I have a tentative dates to rent out Freedom Plaza to have a food festival in September as well. So what we plan on doing is Dying 29 throughout the week, collaborating together at the end and having a big party pretty much at the end of it to celebrate all the businesses around here. We have several food vendors and non-food vendors that are committed to coming in to sell their products and to pretty much just bring something new here into 29. I've been here over 20 years and I haven't seen a food festival here besides the ones that Scott put on, and Scott put on some pretty amazing ones. So he's been helping me with that as well. I totally back Terrence and what we're doing, so that's just a little bit more information about what we're trying to do here in September. Thank you.
Thank you. Can we get you to fill out one of those green slips, all your information too, please, sir?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So I have a question. Thank you very much for doing what we asked you to do, getting the signatures and all that. My question is, why was the restaurant week added on to your Dine in 29 food festival? I would rather just see that instead of restaurant week. I added on to it because it involves all of the dining and vendors in 29 Palms.
Yeah,
Right?
that's a great question. I mean, I think that it's important to, mostly I was looking for opportunities to collaborate. You know, I think we've all seen some of the pop-up food vendors that have been looking to establish themselves, whether or not it was at, the farmer's market or, pulling up on the side of the road. One of the conversations that I had with both of the councilmen as we were, negotiating the final details of the program is just, particularly how much restaurants in 29 are struggling, right? We've seen some closures, we've seen some rebrands, we've seen some new launches. My hope is that the infrastructure that established restaurants have, can then help some of there's more affinity to help some of the small pop-ups, some of the small vendors like Ivan, perhaps be able to learn and, learn from that example, right? Again, as a pop-up, that is just a sort of a pilot program for one day getting to your own brick and mortar business, right? But at the same time, I also do think that it's super important not to ignore the established restaurants. So the idea was that through this concept of food, fun, music, dining out for an entire week, and then coming out and celebrating, we were going to be able to offer something for everyone.
Okay.
Thank you.
So,
go ahead.
Myself and Councilmember Mintz are on the committee for the events grants. We've actually started working on year 2 for this project, and I would actually prefer that we start working on that and the remainder of these funds, which I think is $9,500. We go ahead and give that $9,500 to Black Cactus event so that we can start working on next year.
Well, when we discussed this, we brought it down to, I believe, because of the amount of folks that he was contacting, was like you and I talked about. We agreed on 2,500, and then we saw that he shrunk it, and then you and I basically agreed on $1,500. So I'm not real comfortable with the whole 9,500. I'd be willing to go like 3,000. It'd be his first year to prove that this is going to be something that can be funded. I mean, this is something that's gonna.
I hear you, Councilmember Mintz. We take a gamble with everybody that we offer grants to, and I think that we've given away 18,000 to certain organizations. We've given away 15,000 to certain organizations. This is a grant. This is a project that's worthy of 9,500, in my opinion, considering what we've given out before.
Do you actually have a budget all set up for this?
We do.
That we never got to see?
Yeah, well, there was a first version that I provided in the original grant, and then I created a truncated version, which you can see here, and we can definitely scale that based off of the programming. What I can say is that the primary budget is going towards marketing-related expenses, right? It's going to be the development of a website. If there's additional budget, we can figure out an app that people will be able to download and check out the different routes that are available. Facebook advertising, SEO, all that sort of stuff is where the primary funds are going to go. And then I think the other really important aspect is the workforce development, and that we'll be able to take some of the budget that you all allocate and hire photographers and videographers that are in town. Black Cactus just did a video just this week with a local creator. This is an opportunity, in my opinion, to spread some of that money around, not just to the restaurant industry, but then also to some of the professional workers that are in the community.
So I think that the subcommittee should take this back and have a discussion.
I think that that's probably not a good idea, and the only reason why, we're already moving into the next year with our events. And so now we're starting to get, backed up. Originally we agreed on 1,500. That was because, he only had 3 partners. The information wasn't clear. Since then, he's clarified that information, and since then, he's went out there and did the hard work of getting these partners. I think the city should be investing in events like this, and I'm happy that you did that, Terrence. Thank you so much for going out and reaching out to all these restaurants. It's not easy work to collaborate with so many different people, and so I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to make a motion that we go ahead and fund this event for $9,500.
So, Councilmember Scott, the only reason I can't second this is because what we basically were doing, we were supposed to discuss this at a committee meeting. We did. Staff brought it back to us the way we recommended to it, and now just trying to do an open discussion. And when I just received the rest of this information tonight, and then I just saw the new budget tonight, when we met, it was almost 2 hours when we did all of that, and because we scrubbed a lot of stuff, and we talked about a lot of things. So I just don't think this is the appropriate place to just go from $1,500 to $9,500 when I just got the information tonight, and I haven't even talked to Terrence. He came to our meeting, and we had a great, frank conversation. So I would love to do that again, and before we recommend to the council that we use up just because the money's there, just to use it up is,
I hear you. You said just now that as a subcommittee, it's our responsibility to go and look at this stuff and then offer that to the city council. And we did that. We did that at the last council meeting, and it was voted down. Mm-hmm. And so we had a conversation at that meeting. We're having a conversation at this meeting. I don't see any reason why we're holding up right now. We got to start working on the other grants now. We're behind.
I agree with Councilmember Mintz because it is a great event, and I would love to see the event happen, but I just don't think that this is the place. That's the reason we have a subcommittee, is so that you can discuss it and bring back appropriate recommendation to the council. So for you and him to go back and discuss it, I don't think takes away, because it's clear that he's still moving forward. And it's clear that we like the event. It's just we don't agree on the amount right now. But if you and him can talk to him and then come back with a good number, that number may be 9,500. But this is not the place.
All right, and that's the point I made.
I just don't understand why it was the place last time. Why was it the place last time for the council to go against the recommendation of the subcommittee?
Well, I wasn't here, but so if we,
I-
if the council would have went ahead and passed the 1,500, then that's all he would have got. Now he's submitted a revised budget, this is the first minute that I've seen it, and obviously this is the first time I saw this. I just don't think this is the place to wash all that within 5 minutes of us trying to absorb that budget. So that's
And we didn't deny it.
All right.
We wanted more information.
All right, here we go. Last time we didn't have enough information, that's why we stopped it. We got all the information you asked for, so thank you for that. So I make a motion that we approve for the 1,500 where you can get started and get your money. And then the subcommittee can go back, revisit for more money, and we'll bring it back. So if more money comes your way, it will, but I think we should approve it now because he did with his part, more information. Fortunately, you have even more information that requires more money. So as responsible people for finances, we want to do the right thing, just can't make a decision up here. So
I'll second your motion, Mr. Mayor. I see where your motion's going. I think it's a great one, and we can meet again, and he can do a revised, we can come back with
so
another recommendation.
maybe 2 or 3 meetings from now, you'll be back here getting more money, but at least you have the money to start that you originally asked for, and you can go about and we can get this thing going and be successful. That's my motion. You got a second? Roll call.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Scott?
Aye.
Councilmember Mintz?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klink?
Aye.
Mayor Buildering?
Aye.
Approved 5-0 for 1,500.
All right, number 16, subcommittee recommendations for contributions to nonprofit agencies.
Okay, good evening. So staff is recommending this evening that the City Council approve the subcommittee's suggested contributions to nonprofit organizations. So a little bit of background. A workshop was held on Tuesday, February 13th, 2024. And during that workshop, local nonprofit organizations that had submitted CDBG funding applications had the opportunity to present information about their organization and funding requests to the City Council. The city allocates $50,000 each fiscal year to support local nonprofit organizations, and 4 organizations submitted their applications and presented their funding requests at that workshop. The funding requests were as follows. The Morongo Basin Unity Home requested $12,000. Reach Out Morongo Basin requested $20,000. The 29 Palms Community Food Pantry requested $30,000, and the 29 Palms Branch Library requested $10,000. The subcommittee members recommended the following funding recommendations. Reach Out Morongo Basin, $20,000. 29 Palms Community Food Pantry, $30,000. And Morongo Basin Unity Home with $5,000, utilizing $5,000 in funds from the Housing and Homeless Program budget. The subcommittee recommended not funding the 29 Palms Branch Library at this time. So the City Council has an opportunity to approve the subcommittee's funding recommendations or table the item for further discussion. The funding will become available July 1.
Council, any questions?
No, I just have, I just want to actually say, utilizing 5,000 funds from the Housing and Homeless Program budget for the Unity Home. The Unity Home will be having funding sources cut in half because they're losing VOCA money. And I think it's very important that we fund the Unity Home because they're working with women and men who are victims of domestic violence and are without shelter, and they're going to be losing a lot of state money.
I did not know that, but they're losing state money.
Okay.
But we've funded this Unity Home for years. We've on a consistent basis.
I know we got some funds though from the showers and from all of that. There's $30,000 that was supposed to be for the navigation center from the housing and homeless program budget. I just think that if we're going to use the housing and homeless program budget to give them $5,000, I'd like to see them get a little bit more.
All right. We on up here? Public? Nobody. All right. Back up here.
So, I know that's a future agenda item, the revisit the funds for those. Obviously, Mr. City Manager, can we allocate more of the monies from that just, at this time?
So, Councilmember Mintz, I'd need to look into that. I don't know that we have that authority. If Abigail is still in the audience.
Well, I mean, no, it's not a separate. It says it right here. Morongo Basin Unity Home, 5,000, utilizing 5,000 in funds from the Housing and Homeless Program budget. It's part of this now.
Yeah, this was recommended, that they take $5,000 in funds from the Housing and Homeless Program budget to fund. So the total between the two, the food pantry and reach out is 50. This is 5,000 to fund them from that budget. That's what they're talking about.
And I was the one that did the future initiated item for the revisiting the showers. If we go ahead and do that, I'll pull it. I'll pull it.
I want to say these are two different programs. They shouldn't be combined.
So maybe what we can do is we can table this portion of giving the $5,000 to Unity Homes, and we can put this on the next council agenda meeting, and we can take a look at the totality of that fund and ensure that we're meeting all of the requirements of that fund.
What I like to, also, yes, I'm good with that.
Yes.
Because what I'd like to also see is exactly how much funding they are losing, because obviously if they're losing a lot, maybe we need to increase that 5,000.
Also in your research, can you get with our counterparts and see what they're doing, and maybe we can collaborate together on this?
Would be happy to.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Yucca Valley actually did something like that recently at their council meeting, where they actually, their programs that were actually specific to homeless, they went ahead and funded that out of a different fund and didn't use the block grant.
Yeah, because they're doing the same thing we do. They allocate it to the city. And just for the audience, the city's not taking that money, but the county puts so many restrictions on it that it's just, this is the best way we can do it and make it streamlined, because it just, so we can get the money faster also. They get the money faster. They don't, plus the county takes like 18% just to fund, just to,
administer.
find, or just to
Administer.
and yeah, divest, yeah. So
there's
yeah.
a public service cap. They would only get $24,000 if they actually funded through CDBG. So that's
Yeah.
why the city, yeah.
So yeah, there's a whole long list of why we did this. So are we done with the public, or do we do with the public comment already?
We done?
Ready for the
Okay.
motion?
Council, back up here.
Well, I make a motion that we fund the two, the 30,000 for the pantry, and then 20,000 for reach out, and then we bring back the
Unity Home.
the Unity Home.
Second.
Roll call.
Councilmember Wright?
Aye.
Councilmember Mintz?
Aye.
Councilmember Scott?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klink?
Aye.
Mayor Bilderade?
Aye.
Approved 5-0.
Number 17, consideration of partnership with the Women of Color Global, WOCG, in connection with proposed grant application.
Good evening to the mayor and to all the city council people. My name's Carrie Williams from Women of Color Global, and I'm here tonight to just hold on. I gotta get it out. Okay, I'm here tonight to just want to partner with the city of 29 Palms on a resilience center for the city of 29 Palms. We understand that we don't have experience to manage the grant, the size of the grant that I'm asking for, or that I've put together. That is why I want to partner with the city of 29 Palms. We are okay with the city taking the lead on this project and have other organizations partner as well, not only my organizations, but other organizations that would like to get involved with this project. All we want is to provide the programming and the outreach of the project that we're asking for. That's all that women of color want. We can work out details of this project before we submit an application.
Hello, good evening. I'm Karen Harper. I'm part of Women of Color. And I just wanted to also add to it, as far as the Resilience Center, it's gonna be downtown, part of Freedom Center, of the Freedom Plaza. We're asking for that lot over there in Tumbleweed and Cactus, if we can partner with that. Because of the simple fact is, Freedom Plaza was supposed to have some meeting rooms. They told us that they was gonna provide meeting rooms. So if we have the Resilience Center down there, we can get some solar panels, we'll have a garden for the community. So everything that we're asking for, we're not asking just for women of color, we're asking for the community. I think it's gonna be a good thing. You know, we did a survey asking, did anybody find that it was interested to have a garden? And we have the surveys, we have about 30 people saying that they would love to see a garden.
And in that space, what we'll do is we'll have some educational classes, we'll teach gardening classes, and we'll also teach healthy living in these community rooms as well. Not to mention that we was asking in this grant to get 2 new vehicles for the community, so when a disaster hit, these vehicles will go over mud, rocks, will get to the people that needs the help.
Thank you very much. I just want to clarify, when you say you're asking for a lot, what do you mean by that?
Oh, okay. Well, what we're looking at is building on that lot. Matter of fact, the lot that we're asking is right next door, is downtown, and it's right next to Freedom Plaza. It's on the corner of Cactus and Tumbleweed. You have an empty lot there. So if you donate the lot to us, the city will benefit because they're gonna get a building.
I'm sorry, but I just want to, I want to nail that down real quick, because this language, I think, is confusing for some people.
Okay.
When you say donate a lot, you're not asking for the city to transfer a lot, are you?
No.
No, the city will keep the lot.
Yes, they'll keep it.
Thank you for that.
And also, when you say a lot, you mean a vacant parcel.
Yes.
Not
Thank
a
you.
quantity of givings, but a vacant parcel.
Yes, a vacant lot.
A vacant lot. A
That's from where
vacant
we're
parcel. Sorry, we don't.
It's from where we from.
It's
We
our
say
language.
lot.
Okay.
I just want, thank you very much for that. I know you guys have really put a lot of work into this project. I know the city needs it, especially our sphere of influence. Sometimes we forget about, our neighbors in Wander Valley and in Desert Heights. But a lot of those people are homebound. These people, they can't make it to the city a lot of times. And I think we need to provide a service to them just like we provide a service for our residents, because when they do come into our city, they spend their money in our city. And so I also put on the table for each council member that the city of Coachella just actually recently received a $10 million grant for a community resilience center. This is where cities are moving to right now. And I understand there might be some concerns about the capacity of women of color to be able to pull off a project like this. But the city of 29 Palms has that capacity. And we have a nonprofit here right now who's basically giving us a project that they've already worked on, and we can take the lead as the lead applicant, and they can be the co-applicant along with other nonprofits to provide services to our residents. At the end of the day, I heard someone say we have a fiscal responsibility to our community. We certainly do. But we also have a responsibility to provide a quality of life for our residents.
Right.
And we need to do that.
And the Resilience Center, not only that, it's gonna provide jobs. It's a 3 years. So we'll be providing jobs. bus driver, because, you know, we're gonna have 2 vehicles, and we could always negotiate salary. If the salaries are too high, we can negotiate that. We don't have a problem with that. We just want to make sure that our community gets something out of this grant. I think it's an easy grant that we can get. Thank you.
Thank you. Back up here.
Obviously, Councilmember Wright and I are on the transit board, and anybody that needs a ride, all they have to do is dial we have what's called dial a ride. All they got to do is dial the basin, and they'll pick them up. So right now we have that capacity right now.
I'm sorry, in the case of emergency is what I meant.
Oh.
That's what she meant when she said go over rocks and dirt and stuff.
Yeah, and that's obviously I met with Nancy Black, and I met with Miss Carrie Williams on Wednesday, and obviously the words kept coming up, partnership, and obviously being on the transit board as long as I have been, when they keep talking about these buses, there's a lot more to these buses than they realize. I mean, it's a transit. I mean, there's so many liabilities to this, and we don't even know if our insurance will cover the fact that we own these buses and are out there being operated. So there's just a lot of questions, and I appreciate their presentation, and I know that's all on paper. It sounds great, but man, there's just so many things that have to be worked through before we can just say we're there. Because then the main thing is, if we're their partners, are we liable for anything and everything that happens at that resilience center, or anything that from everybody? That's
Councilmember Mintz, we as a city partner with several organizations. We partner with Reach Out Morongo, who occupies city space. We partner at the 29 Palms Theater. We partner at the Farmers Market. We partner with community-based organizations all the time, and these questions never come up about liability.
because they have insurance for those.
Okay, so I don't think they're asking for for this to be signed, a partnership to be signed tonight. What I think they're asking for is for a working group, right, of between the city and them to collaborate on this grant. Maybe you're on the subcommittee to help them figure out some of these questions. But I think we should be open-minded about this.
Well, I am definitely open-minded. I am, and when I spoke to the two young ladies there, I told them, look, I'm not trying to sound negative, and they said, oh no, you're bringing up great questions. So they didn't think I was being negative. I don't know if that's what conveyed later, but they didn't think I was being negative because I was just asking some of the hard questions. Because when you say partnership, you're right. But the folks that you mentioned all have high insurances that they cover, that they have to have to make sure that they cover the city.
Yeah, and some of these expenses can be absorbed in the grant to have insurance.
For the first 3 years.
For the first 3 years.
So then, I don't know if you looked at their final thing for the RFP, but like for the bus, it's accounting firm for after 3 years, it says the city, landscaper install maintenance after the 3 year, the city, insurance agency, van, community garden, city. That's all. This is what they handed us. It's in the staff report. They said after the 3 years that we're going to absorb all those costs.
So I think that what we need to do is actually not sign a partnership, but I think that we'd be doing a disservice to our community if we didn't at least look at developing some type of application for this grant. They may not have all of the answers. They may not have everything that needs to be in this grant, but they have done a good job of putting something together, a proposal of ideas.
Now I agree with that, but
and so maybe what I'm saying is, all we do is we continue this conversation, we work on this together, and we see if it's something that really can benefit the community. And if we develop something, we bring it back for a vote and we submit that grant. But I don't think we're signing the paperwork today. That's not what they're saying.
No. Well, I'm okay having a conversation.
Okay, I just wanted to say something about those vehicles. Those are emergency vehicles. We're gonna have a restroom on the bus. Like, we had floods in Yucca Valley and I was stuck. I couldn't even get home for like 4 hours. They have floods here in 29 Palms. You can't get around, things like that. That's what our vehicles are. There's solar vehicles. And once, if a person is home and they're stuck, some vehicles can't get there. But the buses that we have will be able to get through that terrain to get there, to get somebody. You never know if we have a natural disaster, like an earthquake, and somebody's stuck, an elderly stuck. My mom is 94. I don't live with my mom, so I just think if you just look at it a little bit more, if we have to get insurance, we have the money in the grant to get the insurance. It's not like we don't. This is going to be really good for the community, for everybody. Thank you.
Thank you. Close the public. Wow, it's been an hour.
How's it going? My name's Joseph Candelaria, lifelong resident of 29 Palms. I think this is, I've worked with women of color a few times, and they are a great organization. I think what they're doing here is spearheading where the city should go. Holy shit. You guys have a hard job. Where they're headed is where the rest of the world is headed, and I'd hate for 29 Palms to let perfection be the death of progress. So if we could get behind them, I think this would be a great thing. I think you bring up great questions. These are great questions, but it should be a conversation. It shouldn't be a closed and shut case. So that's all that I ask.
Thank you. All right, we close the public. We're back up here. The program, the grant, it's phenomenal. We all want to try to make it happen, right? You say partnership, there's liability on us, so we have to do our due diligence to make sure that we can do this right. And how can we we're trying to find yeses. So that's what, I'll tell you right now, council, I know we want to find a yes. $10 million, helping our community, we're all about it. 3 years from now, that's the change, right? 3 years from now, that money's gone. How do we support that the community is going to be accustomed to is going to be gone, or do we have to do it? You just saw the financial report with Freedom Plaza, how we're negative already. So that's some stuff we got to think about just sitting here. Hearts and minds, we're all about it. Pockets and finance and people's money, we got to sit and think. So conversation is still going to go. We have more questions. We'll answer more things. Maybe the list of things we can support, maybe we'll come down to here, but we can still knock things out. So we're going to work on it. We're going to try to find a way to say yes and make everyone happy 10 years from now, not 3 years, and how we can keep doing it and make this a service that we can all be proud of. So we just keep having this conversation. We get on it?
I appreciate that, Mr. Mayor. I'd actually like to make a motion, though, to give direction to staff to be able to negotiate and work on this grant.
A second.
Councilmember Mintz?
I think it's going to be I'll say aye. But I am willing to.
The motion is to keep talking and keep trying to make things happen.
Yes.
The motion is to have staff be able to work on.
Keep working, keep going forward.
I thought he said negotiate.
We'll negotiate, like you said, we might take some things out, we might add some things.
Yeah.
We're having a conversation about how we can make this grant work.
Could I?
Oh, yes.
Could I ask for a little clarification on what your motion is? I mean, it's pretty vague, and I mean, I hope that doesn't sound critical, but this grant is a pretty complicated grant. I mean, it's there's two components that I'm aware of. Okay, one is this partnership agreement that would have to be worked out, and that's certainly something we can work on, and I think that's what you included in your motion. But when you talk about working on the grant, I mean, this is going to be a lot of work to do a grant like this. Are you basically giving direction for staff to go and do the grant work, or is that the responsibility of the community organization that's talking tonight?
I think that I think that a lot's changed since their original presentation. Their original presentation was that they wanted to actually be the lead agency. That's since changed. They're okay with being the co-applicant. This is a city. This is for the city to take the lead. However, the city can't take the lead on this grant. It's in the grant notice of funding opportunity without a community-based organization. So.
I'm sorry. The reason I asked the question is I thought that's what you meant by it, and I think that I'm just your lawyer. Okay, take this with a giant grain of salt. Your city manager is pretty new, and so I'm probably saying things that a more seasoned city manager might be saying himself, but I think before you vote on telling your staff to go and pursue this grant and effectively be in charge of writing this grant, you need to give your staff a chance to figure out what that means and how much time is involved in that. If this is a 400-hour project, do you have 400 hours of staff time? If this is a 20-hour project, no problem. By the way, I have no idea. I'm not suggesting it's 400 hours. I just have no idea. And I don't know if your staff knows that yet. So I think this is, my observation is that
Finance
this
Director.
is something that needs a little bit of staff analysis to come back to you and tell you what it is that you're asking staff to do, and if it's something that staff is able to do, before you give staff direction and expect them to go do it. And then if they come back to you and say, God, we just can't do it, then all of a sudden, you're putting your brand new city manager in a really bad spot.
Sure. Well, that's okay. I hear what you're saying, because you're right. He's going to have to do some digging, some investigations at first, right?
And so, Councilmember Scott, if I may contribute to that comment, one of the things that might be advantageous is for city staff to engage a grant writer. In addition to or outside of the EPA, they have made available professionals to provide technical assistance, right? So there is that resource, but I think it's advantageous to the city, for the city to identify a grant writer and maybe bring that person in on a consulting basis so that they can, based on their training and experience, give us an estimation of how long this is going to take. Is this going to be 300 hours, 400 hours, so that we have
I'm okay with that. And I don't know if the audience heard what you said, but Women of Color Global have already received the technical assistance grant, and so I've actually been in conversation with the EPA today regarding the feasibility of this project. This lady is very excited for us. She thinks that we're actually that we have a good chance of getting this grant.
Is it that the EPA consultant or the actual EPA?
Consultant.
The consultant, yeah. Consultants are always excited. Come on. The more you talk to consultants, the more they get paid. So no, I'm just making light of it, and I think everyone in the audience knows that if they've ever used a consultant in their business, they know they love everything you want to do. Let's go. So anyway, I think what staff is trying to tell us is, like, let us come back to you with some kind of parameters, or if this is what we can do. I mean, is that what I'm hearing from staff?
Yes, sir, it is. And I appreciate you saying that. That is very much the case. And one of the things, too, that when you take a look at the NOFA, the Notice of Funding Opportunity, that NOFA 96-page document, one of the things they talk about is how is what is being outlined responsive to the EPA's strategic plan. So that's an entirely other document that we really have to get our heads around and find out, is a garden, are buses, are those things responsive to the EPA's strategic plan? And one of the things, too, that I think is mission critical in this is, as a couple of the council members have pointed out this evening, that there are certain areas of expertise that exist already within the community. For example, food pantry, deep expertise, long time doing it. For the Morongo Transit Authority, what is it, Morongo Basin Transit, but they want to call Basin Transit, right? And so those are subject matter experts.
Yeah.
And so I think that a winning proposal, if it comes together, we're going to have to figure out how do we leverage those existing subject matter experts in our community so we can benefit from their, not just as consultants so that we can go ahead and stand this up, but rather how do we engage them? Maybe they provide the vehicles, they provide the bus drivers and the training and everything associated with that, if that is a critical part of what a winning application would ultimately look like. But I think that we get to that once we really find out what is that total commitment of time, and then we would have to take a look at that total commitment of time. We get that estimate. Is it 300 hours? Is it 10 hours? Is it 400 hours? And then we take a look at that relative to some of the other strategic goals that the council has set out, and then the council makes that decision. Is this something that do we want to put these other activities on hold while staff pursues this? That's a council decision.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think those are all solid points, and I think all I'm saying is that at the very least, this is worth our time to actually really look at, even if it's a couple of weeks, whatever it is.
Again, you brought us something tonight that he can actually call Coachella and ask them, how many hours did you guys take to do this? I mean, he could give us he can find out one conversation. But again, we just got this tonight, and it's, it's really tough to just make decisions when you get a piece of paper on the night of. So.
Oh well, no, you in the Brown Act, you know. So.
Right. No.
But yeah. I think you're right. I think that's what my motion is to basically give staff direction to figure out the feasibility of this project
And time commitments.
and the time commitments.
Okay, I'm good with that. I think Steve was. Did you want to second that, Steve? I think you brought.
Second.
Okay.
Oh, I know. I'm sorry. The finance director had a word. Mr. Mayor.
Come on down.
Yeah, I just wanted to say that I agree with our legal counsel here tonight. I mean, the amount of hours that it takes. I've worked with with our federal expenditures. It's not simple. I mean, when we're dealing with federal money, there's a lot that goes into it, a lot of hours. So that's, thank you for giving us some time to really think about how much time, are we going to spend on this? Because if we're talking about $10 million, it does take up a lot of time. What about our other, activities that we have to do on a day-to-day basis? Are we just solely going to focus on that grant? And then, is that $10 million actually there? Because remember what happened with the wastewater grant. Mm-hmm. We were told we had $158 million. In the end, we were only going to get $49 million for the construction project. Mm-hmm. So a lot of those things, again, maybe the consultant was, thinking that, yes, we're going to get it, is, there's so many things we have to get. We just have, there's so many.
We got to flesh it out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's just a lot that needs to go into this before a decision is made.
No, I agree with you, but I do have one point to make about that wastewater money. Yeah, we were told there was money. We were never awarded that money. And so.
Have we been awarded the $10 million?
No, we were awarded the $49 million.
No, yeah, I'm sorry, but I'm saying, I thought you said that we were told that there was going to be like 150 million or something.
That's
yeah,
what we
we were told that, but we were never awarded 150 million.
Has the $10 million been awarded?
No, what do you mean?
Has it been awarded? Do we have, it's the same thing.
No, none of it's been awarded, but I mean.
So essentially, same thing.
And then also, one of the things too, council, for your consideration is, and this is part of the due diligence on this, is sometimes when these grants come out, there are certain limitations or caps on how much can be spent for overhead. And that's going to be a mission critical component. Because
it's 10% for the most part, just 10%.
As Director Abigail has pointed out, we already have an extremely full plate, and one could suggest that we're already understaffed in providing our basic core duties. And so these additional responsibilities come on with these federal reporting requirements, and these are very serious reporting requirements and very time intensive. We have to find out, are there sufficient funds within the grant in order for us to hire on an ad hoc basis, on a 3-year basis, the consultants and the professionals that would help our team complete the requirements. There may be a case, and I personally had ran into one, where we tapped out, we hit that threshold, and then it was on staff, and that was very problematic. So those are just part of the things that we would have to take a look at in our due diligence, and then report back to council and give these time estimates.
And just so you know, that grant writing expense, that's not going to be covered by the grant. They never are.
That is correct.
So.
What's the average cost for grant writing?
Could be up to, this is a $10 million grant. Could be looking at 25,000, maybe more. It's hard to say at this point. We've had one of the smaller grants, it was like almost 500,000. It was like almost $18,000 for the grant writing part. Again, none of that is covered by the grant. So a lot of things to think about here. Are we going to be the direct recipient of this grant? If so, then women of color are going to be sub-recipients. There's things that we have to create a whole new policy to manage a sub-recipient. We have to, it's a requirement for a federal grant.
Yeah.
Just lots of
No, I
things.
think, yeah, I agree with everything you guys are saying. I want to make the point, though, that the city does go after federal grants. So it's not, I mean, I hear you, and I
No,
agree with
and we
everything you're
do.
saying, but it's not something that's abnormal for us to not go for a federal grant.
It's just the federal grants that we get are direct for the city. It's never been a partnership with anybody else. So, I mean, we do get the CDBG funding, which we do for give out. For example, it was the Reach Out Morongo to do the food program during COVID-19. But it's not a partnership. It's more there's the sub-recipient. We're the direct recipients of that grant. So I'm just not clear on what this whole partnership is about. But we can talk more details later. That was just my input.
All right, so we know some of the direction. We all clear? All right.
Can I ask one question? Carrie, is there a time limit on this grant? Is there a date that you have to have it in by?
Yes, you've got to November 2024.
Okay.
It is on a
Hopefully
rolling.
we'll get it done, taken care of before then, but
I just want to add, though, that it is a rolling basis, and they are, as Abigail did say, they are awarding now. And so if we wait too long, that money might not be there.
so it's just for all of it is November.
Yep.
All right. Not really, but I already closed the public.
I'm sorry, but we're gonna, you know what, if we can't have those buses, then let's add on to the dog shelter, okay? Can we get some solar panels on the dog shelter? I'm okay, as long as we can get the grant.
Hey, that was a good. Hey, that
She's
was a-
joking. She's joking. But if you read that thing from Coachella, it did say something about sheltering animals with their resilience center.
I will read it.
Yeah, that's a
after tonight.
Hey, that was a good ad. Thank you. All right, we're moving on. Future council-initiated items.
We have to
vote
didn't
first.
I thought we tabled.
You made a motion and you seconded it.
Second roll call. Yeah.
They're gonna take a look at
Take
it.
a look
and
at it.
Come back to us.
Motion.
Okay,
I
so
second.
motion was made by Councilmember Scott,
I
seconded
second.
by Mayor Bilderrain.
Yep.
Councilmember Wright.
Aye.
Councilmember Mintz.
Aye.
Councilmember Scott.
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Klink.
Aye.
Mayor Bilderrain.
Aye.
Approved 5-0.
Moving on. Future council-initiated items. Number 1, revisit funds that were allocated for the pool showers and navigation center.
I would like to add one, revisit grant program for Twentynine for Food Festival.
Second.
Hopefully, Councilmember Scott, you and I can get together within a week so we can give staff time to put a staff report together, whatever our recommendation is.
I'll make myself available. I appreciate that, Councilmember Mintz. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Roll call. Oh, he already does initiated items. I'm sorry, lost. Right, public comments. This is the time for the public to address the city council on issues within the jurisdiction of the city council that are not on this agenda. All comments are to be directed to the city council and should not consist of any personal attacks. Members of the public are expected to maintain a professional, courteous decorum during their comments. There's a time limitation of 3 minutes per person. 3 minutes per person. If you haven't already done so, please fill out the name and address slips and give them to the city clerk. The city council is prohibited by state law from taking action or discussing items not included on the printed agenda. Public comments on specific agenda items will be deferred until consideration of the item on the agenda. Leading off, Ms. Leanne Clark.
Thank you, Council. I just want to take a moment on behalf of the 29 Palms Ministerial Association to thank Mayor Bilderrain and our new city manager, Stone James, for attending the Mayor's Prayer Breakfast on the 21st. And thank you also, Councilmember Wright. Of course, I know you're president as well, but it was a very different prayer breakfast. The Navy chaplain and the Sheriff's Department participated, and they had just come out of the incident of what took place happening to Gunnery Sergeant McDonald. And so I just want to thank all of you for being there and supporting those that were involved, especially in that incident. And I think they greatly appreciated our support in being there with them and comforting them through what they observed in that incident. And I also want to thank the city of 29 Palms for the beautiful Memorial Day ceremony yesterday. I hope that you guys will partner again with the 29 Palms Public Cemetery. I thought it was amazing, and I also thought it was very special of the separate area for Gunnery Sergeant McDonald and honoring him. And I just want to thank the city for doing such a spectacular job. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Next, Miss Susan Piplow. She's still here? Oh.
Good evening again. Today, my public comment is the focus of public comments. Seemingly, the request for written submissions to be read as public comment is no longer being honored. The need for transparency with the community should be of utmost concern. Emails sent to the City Council, although completely permitted form of communication, may be perceived as clandestine methods and even asserted by some as a Brown Act violation when not read into public record as requested, even when there's no violation. Still, the community has the right to participate regardless of the form chosen. Such feedback is valuable to the wellness of our community and for the opinions regarding the discussions that you face. Referencing the League of California Cities, reasonable regulations for public comment policy should be in place and periodically updated. Such like our existing 3-minute rule, we could implement a policy for written statements of 200 or say 450 words or less, which can be read in an allotted 3-minute public comment timeline. By reference, this was 175 words, and I probably nailed it in about a minute. Thank you.
Thank you. Ms. April Ramirez?
Good afternoon, Council. I'm very glad that I heard words like fiscal responsibility, quality of life, and due diligence. Before you, I hold a 200-page document. This document is known as the City of 29 Palms Economic Development Administration Grant that we submitted on July 17th of 2020. And the main reason that I'm bringing this up today is because as I was reviewing it, I found a lot of inconsistencies with what we told the federal government we were going to do and what we actually did. And so when you take money from the federal government and you tell them you're going to do something and then you don't, there's repercussions for that. And so 4 of the 5 councilmen, Mr. Scott, you were not in on this at the time, are aware of this. We accepted $4.3 and some change $1 million for the water treatment plant. And in there, it was also signed by the previous city manager. I am aware that any false, fictitious, or fraudulent statements or claims may be subject to me, the city, the organization I represent, to criminal, civil, or administrative penalties under U.S. Code Title 218, Section 1001. It's signed under penalty of perjury. A few pages later, you get to a part that asks you to please describe the economic impact that it would have. And it says the package treatment plant will connect 18 directly affected businesses, so on and so forth. It also goes on to say that this will also help the planned future projects, which include a multi-purpose facility, the Joshua Tree National Park Visitor and Cultural Center, a Hilton Homes 2 development, which is approximately 100 hotel rooms, and low to moderate income housing projects. Later, somewhere in the 200, it says that the low to moderate income housing projects that this would connect to is a 3-story housing structure that would have 75 spaces of ADA compliant parking spaces. I drove by there on my way here just to make sure that I didn't miss anything since then, and I didn't see that down in Phoenix Plaza. And then also it goes on to say that the proposed project will also generate private investment from the Hilton Hotels Company for a Hilton 2 by Hilton locations with an estimated private investment of $14 million, and that was supposed to be completed in 2020. Drove by Phoenix Plaza, downtown 29 Palms, still not there. And then it goes on to talk about non-EDA funding for the project. City reserves, sitting bonds. The one that really caught my attention is the housing bond funds, which we told them we could allocate 1.2 million of. When you go down the page, part of the application is that you have to submit all of the meeting minutes that this project in specific was discussed at any point. And on Tuesday, October 11th, 2016, I'm going to ask that you guys ask for more time, that you guys allow more time. And if you don't, then we can continue this conversation with the Office of the Inspector General.
3 minutes, thank you. Next, Ms. Cindy Bernard.
I just wanted to second Susan's request for a policy regarding written public comment. We live in an economically disadvantaged community with a lot of social isolation spread across 58 square miles. Not everybody can get to council. I really feel that written public comment should be written into the record. I agree with Susan. It's easy to do. You just say, just like a student essay, you know, double-spaced, 12-point font, no longer than 1 page, or you say 450 words, and if it's not done in 3 minutes, it's not done in 3 minutes. But it's really important. And for speaking for the Desert Trumpet, we believe that one of the things that has increased council attendance since we've been publishing is all of the writing about public comment that's happening in the newspapers. I mean, when people read public comment in the newspapers, it empowers them to come to council meetings and speak, or send in a letter if they can't get here. So I would really appreciate your consideration of Susan's request to look at a written public comment policy. And then on a completely unrelated topic, you know, the TBID has been really successful in using a group of community members to review their grants. I worked with them in developing that policy, and I would really request that council consider using a similar panel of community members to look at the city council grants, or at least consult with a group of community members in your consideration of the grants, and talk to the TBID about that to see how that's been working. Talk to Brianne. Thank you.
Thank you. We also received a text email from Mr. Vino Nazara about some property issues he's having, and all the council has received it, and the city manager for record. Moving on, city manager update.
Thank you, Mayor. At this point, we're looking forward to working with the various groups and potentially analyzing our ability to pursue this grant. Other than that, I have no comments at this time.
All right, thank you. I'd like to adjourn this meeting in the memory of Gunnery Sergeant Robert Bobby McDonald.